Hello, I'm Robin. Welcome to Bookspin. Himself in Anachron is one of Cordwainer Smith's earliest written stories in the instrumentality of mankind, and yet it remained unpublished for decades. According to the introduction in The Rediscovery of Man, he wrote the story back in 1946, before his SF publishing career had even started. Unlike most of his stories, this particular story never got published in a magazine, but it was scheduled to be included in his 1963 collection called You Will Never Be the Same. However, Cordwainer Smith didn't deliver the revised manuscript in time, so he missed the boat for that. After he died in 1966, however, his widow, Genevieve Linebarger, finally completed the story, and it was supposed to be included in The Last Dangerous Visions, edited by Harlan Ellison, this anthology which was famously subject to endless delays. This particular book, by the way, eventually did get published, but only last year. But himself in Anachron wasn't part of it. Instead, it got its first publication in French translation in 1987 in another collection. The original English text finally saw the light of day in 1993 with The Rediscovery of Man, this collection which collates all of his short stories and I'm reading through. So it finally got published in its original form. Interestingly, Harlan Ellison threatened to sue Nesfer, the publisher of this book, for printing a story. But turns out this didn't go anywhere because by this time his rights to the story had long since expired. So as you can see, the story has got quite a colourful publication history. The story itself is a pretty short one. It's got a very interesting premise. It's got a fascinating time travel concept at its heart. And it's pretty haunting and tragic in its tone. However, in my opinion, it suffers a little bit from rather confusing execution, at least some of the time, and it doesn't feel as polished as most Cordwainer Smith stories. So we start off this story with a couple of adventurous newlyweds, Tasco Magnon and his wife Dita, who set out on the grandest of all honeymoons in a ship that can travel through space and time. Sounds romantic, right? But it's also very dangerous. Their destination that they are seeking is called the Knot in Time. What exactly this is not altogether clear to me. The description leads a lot for the reader to interpret in their imagination. But it appears to be some kind of mysterious temporal anomaly that Tasco and Dita are fascinated by and are determined to visit. Alas, the trip quickly turns to tragedy when their ship gets trapped in the knot. And the only way that they can escape this predicament is by drastically shedding weight off the ship, including one of themselves. This is just a two-person crew in a very small ship. So Tasco sacrifices himself so that Dita may live and return the ship safely home. It's all very noble and tragic. And then things start to get really weird. Tasco, separated from his wife, doesn't actually die, but finds himself lost in the realm of Anachron, which is a kind of bizarre world in which he experiences the flow of time in reverse at an extreme speed. So he witnesses the rise and fall of civilizations across eons in the blink of an eye, pretty much. Or to be more precise, he witnesses the fall and rise of civilizations because this is all happening in reverse. It's a pretty wild concept. As this backward time travel gradually slows down, he finds himself housed in a temple built in his honor, realizing that he's become some kind of godlike figure in a society that observed his arrival centuries before it actually happened. It's a bit of a mind bender, really. Now that's about as far as it goes in terms of the story. It's kind of hard to spoil this one because the plot is kind of minimal. I would say this is more of a conceptual piece rather than a narrative or plot-based story. And it's certainly an intriguing concept for sure. But the time travel ideas, I think, are a little bit confusing in the way that they're described, at least initially. And I still don't really know what the time knot is or is supposed to be. It's only when we get towards the end of the story, when the ideas sort of really come together and you kind of understand what's going on. I also didn't really get any kind of emotional connection to Tasco or his wife. Ultimately, the story and the characters weren't fleshed out enough to make it a truly compelling read, which I guess is why Smith never got around to getting it published in his lifetime and doing full justice to the story. But it's certainly a fantastic and haunting time travel premise, and there's quite a lot of mystery and intrigue in this tale for what it is. While I can't say that it's an essential read, it's only a few pages long, and it's worth checking out if you're into thought-provoking time travel fiction and conceptual fiction, or if you're just a Cordwainer Smith completist like me. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.